Chapter 3. Ordinary enters the wasteland. After he had gotten to the other side and all his border bullies had left him, he slept happily, and waking up the following morning, he was so light and happy. His dream came alive to him and he started working. He was singing a song that he composed when he was leaving familiar, and everything looked so beautiful to him. In his mind, he felt he's very close to his land of promise. But going forward, he kept on seeing unfamiliar places, but then he kept on going. At every corner, he felt, oh, this will lead me to my promised land. But getting to the place, he will see just broad land, full of sound. Then he started getting worried. Whenever he feels hungry, he will open his box and take some food and eat. And when he's thirsty, he will open his box and eat. And he continued his journey because he had made up his mind, no matter what it takes, I'm giving it to it. This dream I must achieve. Then he kept on going. Then before he knew what was happening, the path started fading off in front of him. He couldn't even see where he was going any longer. Then he called on the dream giver, but dream giver was nowhere to be found. He was surprised. Before, the voice of the dream giver was so near to him, but at this particular time, it was as if there was no voice at all. And one day, he opened his box when he was hungry, and there was no food for him to eat. He checked for his water, and there was no water. Then he started screaming, "Dream giver, what are you doing to me? Do you want me to become skeleton in this land?" It was a pure desert. Then he started shouting and screaming, "I need food, I'm hungry." And one day, he looked sideways and he saw a stream close to a rock. He went to the place, he fetched his container, and he was able to drink. Then he said, okay, I know that water is salted, but then I need to eat. Still no voice of dream giver. Then he thought to himself, if I can be so smart to find water, I think I should be able to get food. Then he started going around. Then he saw a white tree in the desert with some fruit hanging on it. He had never seen such fruit before, but he plucked one of them. And when he started eating it, he saw that the fruit was tasteless, but then this fruit did not hurt his stomach. So he ate to his full. It wasn't what he wanted, but then that was what was available. He continued his journey. And all of a sudden there was a wind. Wind started blowing in the desert for like an hour. And the wind was so strong that his mouth, his eyes, and everywhere was filled with sound. He had to bow his head to save his life. And after everything, he looked. The path that he was following that was already fading off had gone totally. Then he started crying, hot tears. He started screaming at the dream giver. You are not a dream giver, you are a dream taker. See where you brought me. Am I not better off in familiar? What is the meaning of this? This is a journey of waste. And he started shouting because all his hope had gone. And that night, he slept the sleep of a dreamless dreamer. Then waking up the following morning, he made up his mind. I'm going back to familiar, he told himself. But then, even the way to familiar, he did not know. But he was still under the tree where he had his last meal. And all of a sudden, there was a movement on the tree. And he checked, it was a young lady. He was shocked because all those while that he's been walking, he had never seen anybody aside himself in the desert. Then this young lady came down from the tree. And he asked the young lady, who are you? What is your name? And the young lady said, my name is Faith. I'm sent to you by the dream giver. Ordinary laughed. He said, sent to me by the dream giver. Now he's sending you to me. Since I've been calling his name, where has he been? There's no dream again. I don't have any dream. My dream is dead. So you are as good as useless. I don't need your help. And Lady Faith smiled and said, so you mean you've never been helped since you've been on this journey? He said, no. Even when my food finished, there was nothing to eat. Even water, common water. I called the dream giver, but he never answered me. Lady Faith said, there was no water to drink. He said, actually, I ended up getting water from a brook, but then it was just water. Lady Faith looked at him and said, and? He said, I got a wild fruit that I was able to eat, but that is not what I wanted. If not for that fruit, I would have been a skeleton by now. What am I even saying? I'm already a skeleton. Lady Faith looked at him as if there's still more for Ordinary to say. And Ordinary said, okay, I understand. He provided the water and the food, even though the food wasn't what I wanted. But then a little guidance would have been good. A little guidance. He should just speak to me so that I will know I'm not the only one on this journey. Then he told Lady Faith, he said, you know what? One thing I just need you to do for me now. Take me back to Familia. Simple. And Lady Faith looked at him and said, I'm sorry, that I can't do. I can't help you with that. Then Ordinary started laughing again. Lady Faith looked at him puzzled. Ordinary said, can you see? The helper the dream giver sent to me cannot even help me. You are just so useless. Lady Faith looked at him and walked away. Ordinary was still talking to himself, sat down under the tree, was still hungry. Then all of a sudden, sense returned back to him. And he told himself, what if this is the helper the dream giver sent to me? What if he's the one that will lead me to the dreamland? He quickly jumped up and he climbed the tree. Then he was able to see Lady Faith afar off. Then he came down and started walking towards the path that she took. Then he realized that his box had become a burden to him. After all, his water and his food was no longer coming from the box. So he opened the box, brought out a knapsack inside the box, and his journal and his long feather and the ink. He put them inside the knapsack and he threw the suitcase away so that he could travel light. And every time he lost track on Lady Faith, he would climb the tree and see the direction at which she's going. Then he would come down and follow that path. And this is how his dream came alive to him again. And he was so happy. But then all of a sudden, he saw some people talking to themselves, coming towards him. He was scared, like, what is going on here? And when they got to him, there were nobodies from the land of Familia that had left for their own dreamland some years back. He was surprised to see them. When they saw him, they said, oh, Ordinary, you two are on this path? He said, yes, I'm following my dream. I'm also going to the land of promise. They laughed. After this phase, you're still going to meet giants on your way. And guess what? The dream giver will leave you to yourself. Here you're still hearing his voice in a way or two. But over there, when you face giants, his voice is gone. Like you won't be able to hear him again. We are going back to Familia. Ordinary was surprised and was still trying to defend the dream giver. But then he realized one thing, that all of them had lost trust in the dream giver. They urged him to follow them back to the land of Familia, but he said he's not going with them. He said he will give everything it takes to achieve his own dream. So they looked at him and laughed and just left. And Ordinary continued his journey and thought to himself that he's ready to give everything. So far he can easily follow Faith and there's enough food around him that can feed him. What else is he looking for? One morning, on the far side of the desert, Ordinary wrote down the truth about the wasteland. After crossing the waters, I thought my dream was just around the corner. Instead, I found a wasteland. I was disappointed by the delay, and my doubt about the dream giver only made things worse. Now I see that the wasteland was not a waste. It has taught me to trust the dream giver, even when he's nowhere in sight. I think I'm stronger now. I'm following Faith, and every day I feel more prepared for whatever lies ahead. This is the end of the chapter 3. Thank you for listening. We still have 4 more chapters to go, and I hope this is blessing you as it's blessing me. I would like to hear from you at the comment section. I would like to know how connected this story is to you, and I would like to know what chapter and what junction are you in your own journey at the comment section. Please make sure you share the link so that other people can benefit from it too. Thank you very much.